Hey everyone, just wanted to do a quick update on my 2010 Civic LX Sport, LXS. It's got about 129,500 miles right now, so I'll call this the 130,000 mile update. And I purchased this car back in May of 2015. It had 107,000 on it, so I've put almost 23,000 miles on it in a little over a year. And I just wanted to go through a couple things that have happened to it, some problems I've had in the last year, and overall how reliable it's been for me so far. So as you just saw in the first clip of the video, I did put my stock SI axle back on this car just for a little bit of noise from the exhaust. Just a tiny bit of rumble so I can kind of hear what RPM I'm at a stoplight and whatnot. I used to stall this thing all the time because I couldn't hear the engine running, and unless I was looking at the tachometer taking off to make sure the RPMs didn't drop too low, I had no idea where they were. So that's one thing I've done. So now let's talk about what's gone wrong with this car. Right when I bought it, I actually, a few thousand miles after I bought it, I got a check engine light that came on, and it went into limp mode, so I couldn't rev it above 3,500. There was a rev limiter at 3,500 in every single gear. So basically the top speed on the car was 85 miles an hour or 82 miles an hour, around there, because at 3,500 RPM in fifth gear, it was hitting its own rev limiter, which was an issue. So I ended up pulling a code for it, and it was giving me a circuit malfunction for the oil pressure sensor, and I'll show you where that is now in the engine bay. So here's the engine bay, your R18, and right back here where that plug is, that's your Vtec Solenoid, and right underneath that, you can't really see it in this video, but this is all, you know, one assembly right here. And I had to replace that whole thing because it was cheaper to do that way, really. I think it was $130 to get the whole block, which included the oil pressure sensor on the back and the Vtec solenoid and everything. So you just pop it off and pop it on. And it was leaking oil out of the back of the oil pressure sensor because I noticed a bunch of oil kind of splatter behind this area in the engine bay. So it must have been getting false oil pressure readings because maybe an O-ring was blown or something on that. So here's the part number of what I had to replace. Like I said, I got it for like $130. I'll show you the old one. So this is the old one. It's the whole block assembly. This back here is your oil pressure sensor, and that's the Vtec solenoid with the plug you just saw on top. And it's got this little screen and an O-ring around here. That sometimes leaks for some people, but mine wasn't leaking. It was actually leaking out of the back of the oil pressure sensor. So it's just a lot easier for me to just buy a new complete assembly. So I got a new Vtec solenoid as well as a new oil pressure switch. I'm pretty sure this pressure switch is $100 alone, so it just made sense to buy the whole assembly, and there was 3 bolts holding it in. I just popped them out, popped the new one in, and I was good to go. So that really wasn't that bad to fix, but the only other thing that went wrong with the car was actually a huge pain in the ass. I started noticing about last October, this was about a year ago now, when I would leave work and leave the house in the morning, that there was some oil spots underneath the car, a couple drips here and there. It was nothing significant, but just a couple drips now and then, kind of close to the driver's side front tire. It was dripping, you know, kind of over there, but somewhat on the driver's side and towards the front tire. So basically the power steering rack failed on me, and I'll try to get some light up there, but that boot right there was leaking power steering fluid, and I contacted the guy at Honda, and he said, yeah, the you know, the base models, the LX, EX, and DX model R18 Civics are kind of known to have this issue. They blow out seals either on the passenger or driver's side for the power steering rack, and the fluid slowly leaks into the boot, and you won't know it's leaking until it finds its way out of the boot. So mine eventually puddled up so high it came out the front of the boot, and of course this is the new one. I had to replace the whole rack. Luckily I was able to get a new rack for $350 on a discounted price from my friend there at Honda, and he ended up replacing it because it was getting close to November and I couldn't do this by myself in my apartment garage. Basically you have to drop the subframe in this car, and it's a little more complicated to do the rack in this car because of the it's a hydraulic steering system, not electric like the SI. So you have a reservoir right here that you got to keep topped off with power steering fluid. And I did notice with the old rack it would slowly leak down, but it would take probably 2 months for it to get down to where your upper level's here, and then the line right beneath it there is your low level. So it took 2 months or something for it to go down that far. It was a very slow drip. So overall, the car has been very reliable since that point. I would say in the last year is when I've done the last replaced part on it. The only two things I've replaced are that oil pressure block and the power steering rack, which is pretty significant, but it was definitely worth it to me because the car is very clean for a daily. It looks great with the SI wheels on it right now, and of course they were Plastidip black last year, and I took the Plastidip off, and it looks really clean now, just with the silver on silver and the black grille up front. It's a great daily. It's been problem-free for the last year, and gets like 35, 36 miles to the gallon overall. Doesn't matter if I drive it on the highway or in the city. So overall, I would say it's still a great car, but there's some issues it has once in a while, and if you're going to look for a used one of these, definitely check the power steering boots to see if they're wet or not, because if you don't have a friend that'll do it on the side for like a couple $100, definitely going to be a job that's going to cost you over $1,000 if you take it to the dealer. The majority of it will be labor. It's definitely over $800 in labor at the dealer, because they got to drop the subframe and pull the rack out and all the oil lines apart, and then replace the steering rack with you know, new steering rack and rebleed all the lines with the oil and whatnot. So it's a very timely process, and Honda would probably charge a lot of money to do it. So I ended up lucking out with the whole deal. So overall, the car has been pretty good to me in the last year. I mean, right when I got it, I got a little frustrated because of those two issues I mentioned, but lately it's been fine. It's been quiet, you know. It's been a good daily driver. It's fun with the 5-speed. It does have 130,000 miles on it now, but it's on the original clutch. Everything seems solid. The car doesn't run weird. The engine runs smooth still. I do synthetic oil changes every 5,000 miles on it with, you know, Kestrel Edge 520. So hopefully it should last problem-free now to 200,000 miles and beyond. These cars are known to go to 200,000 miles and beyond, because I've seen many of them for sale, and they are very cheap to get nowadays. Like I said, I paid a little more than this probably than I should have, but it was very clean, and it's hard to find these very clean nowadays, especially with the 5-speed manual being a 4-door and the LX Sport model. So like mentioned in earlier videos, it does have pretty much the same interior as the SI. It's got the SI seats without the SI badging, but they're the black fabric that's the same as the SI, as well as the leather-wrapped steering wheel, and they make a great daily. They're softer suspension than the SI, and very comfortable to ride in. Without the sunroof, it's got plenty of headroom for any guys tall like me. I'm 6'3", so it helps a lot to not have a sunroof, even though it didn't really bother me in the SI. So guys, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for some future videos.